Ladies and gentlemen, good morning from the flight deck. Your captain speaking. My name is Connor Lyons on behalf of today's crew. Your flight back on board is flight to Amsterdam.
see broad rivers moving slowly through endless lowlands. When you think of Holland, you probably think of very different things. Windmills, cows, canals, tulips, cheese, traditional costumes, stop! There is one thing that truly connects all Dutch people, and that is water. Water shaped the Dutch, and what's even more interesting, the Dutch themselves shaped the Netherlands. Let me explain. Where should I start? Let's see. Here! Some 700 years ago, the Netherlands looked completely different. As you can see, 1/3 of our country lies below sea level, up to almost 7 meters deep. This makes the Netherlands and its inhabitants very vulnerable to flooding. After yet another flood, the Dutch decided to take matters into their own hands. Neighbors started to cooperate with each other and built embankments to protect themselves from the water. This left whole areas of land dry, which provided many advantages. Additional food could be grown on the land, ideal for farmers. The land that remained was in fact extremely suitable for rich harvest, as well as for tender grass to feed our cows. Over the years, more and more land was reclaimed from the water. Like here, in the Beemster. In the 17th century, the population grew so rapidly that more land was needed to grow food. Therefore, they decided to completely drain the Beemster. They accomplished this by building a high embankment around the lake of no less than 42 kilometers long. Behind it came a ring canal to collect all the water. With the aid of 43 windmills, the water was pumped out of the lake through mill passages. Let me explain how it works. By placing several windmills in tiered succession, each mill managed to pump the water a little higher each time into the ring canal. In 1612, the lake fell dry and they laid out the polder according to a rigid geometric pattern. It looks roughly the same as it did 4 centuries ago. In the centuries that followed, poldering with embankments and windmills ensured that the Netherlands took shape as we know it today. At present, over 17,000 kilometers of embankments protect us from water. However, over the centuries, the water continued to engulf more land. Sometimes during storms, entire villages disappeared from the map. Because of this, the evil water got its name, the Water Wolf. In 1836, when our capital was in danger of flooding, the king intervened. The Dutch lion fought against the Water Wolf. Throughout the years, many lakes were drained and more embankments and locks were built. Not just to protect the Netherlands from the evil water, but also from other enemies. Those same embankments and locks could be cleverly used to flood polders up to knee height, making the water too deep and too dangerous for soldiers and their wagons, and too shallow for their boats. This created a continuous water line of up to 85 kilometers long, which protected the Dutch from the enemy until the Second World War. And even in the years after that, land reclamation in the Netherlands continued.
We even created a whole new county with the largest land reclamation project in the world, the Zuiderzeeworks.
A unique architectural masterpiece to protect our land from water. In about 5 years' time, the Afsluitdijk was built, a 32.5 kilometers long embankment from North Holland to Friesland. The salty Zuiderzee became the fresh IJsselmeer, which supplies the adjoining counties with water during droughts. In the nearly 50 years that followed, huge tracts of new land rose from the lake. Bit by bit, the 12th and equally youngest county of the Netherlands was formed, Flevoland. In 1953, the importance of the Afsluitdijk became all the more obvious when it protected the north of the Netherlands, while large parts of Zeeland and South Holland were surprised by the water. Due to a severe storm with hurricane-force winds, one of the worst floods the Netherlands ever witnessed took place, the North Sea flood. A dark page in our history with water. 200,000 hectares of land flooded completely, and 72,000 people ended up homeless over one night. This should never happen again. Rapidly, cooperation was restored in the polder. A network of 13 dams, embankments, locks and storm surge barriers connected the islands. Collectively, they form the largest storm surge barrier in the world, the Delta Works, with as its centerpiece the 9-kilometer-long Eastern Schelde storm surge barrier. When a water level of 3 meters or above is expected, they close the entire Eastern Schelde from the sea in 18 minutes. The fact that the gates are always open is quite remarkable. As a result, Dutch oyster and lobster can be caught. By trial and error, we have managed over the centuries to form one of the most prosperous countries in the world. Now that we know the Netherlands a little bit better from the ground, I think it's time to take a look at our beautiful country from the sky. Grab your stuff and get ready to plot the flight route, because it's almost time for the unique flight experience.
Here it comes. The difference between the water level and the front door is about 4 meters. Here it is for the people uses the front door only for 2 reasons. When they get married, when people die here. When they die here, get be transported by boat to the church to the last service. Oh, sorry. They go upstairs, get married, come back and step in the boat and sail away to the sunset. Now how romantic is that? So romantic. Yeah. So, now the people that live here on the canal, they have to obey some rules here. You have to keep the grass short. You cannot change the color of the house. If you've got attached roof like that, you keep it like that. Because the picture has to be perfect always, you know. Yeah, it's a protected scenery here. Many people depend on income from tourists. If you want to change the scenery, you lose tourists here.
Okay.
Now perhaps you've noticed the strange form of the rooftops here. Low in the front and high in the back. Did you see that? Yeah. Now, the farmers, they put the cattle in the rear end of the farm. Very silly, very sad story. Very sad story. Because 5 years earlier, in the year 1775 and 76, a big storm was here. People were working those days, digging for peat in the distance, were surprised by the storms, too late to get home and drowned. In 2 years' time, almost a quarter of the people were drowned here. I can't help it, it's history. It's a long time ago. So, but 50 years later, in 1825, another big storm took place. Nobody drowned because they were working already in the farmhouses, taking care of the cattle. They became farmers, yes. But in that storm, all the islands were blown away, and that's why we have water all over, and that's why everywhere we go here is 1 meter deep. They were digging for peat. This whole lake is dug out by the peat diggers. Yeah. No, I told you, dig for 500 years. Now you get a big hole here. Yeah. That's why we've always the same level of water here. So, no high tide, no low tide anymore. But it can differ sometimes 10-50 centimeters because it's also used as a reservoir for water from the river Rhine and Maas. When it's a bit too high, you use the water here. Very smart. Now, the level of the lake here is about the same as the groundwater level. But in a moment I show you grassland, if it's higher, there's always water on top. That's because underneath the grass there's a living peat. That's not allowed to do. That's also why I don't see cornfields here. They can't use heavy machinery, it'll sink in the bottom, it's too moist, too soft. So they use the grass here for cows, sheep and goats, yes? Now listen, a few years ago a farmer had a few llamas standing on the grass. You know llamas? From Peru, llamas? Just for fun, a couple of llamas. So people ask, oh, you've got llamas here. Yeah, I got llamas here. Why do you have llamas here? And I told them, well, when the water is very high, they keep the head over water. And there are always people asking, oh yeah? Yes, yes. Now, I must tell you something about the house that front of us with the barn on the right side. In the barn, you can find little boats, pumpers. These boats, yes, very difficult, yes? Now, this house is built early 1900 by the church. In those days, it was a very religious community here. Big families, 10, 12, 40 children, yeah, all that. Now, this house was built especially for ladies and their children. They don't have any money to go for holiday. So after giving birth, they could stay there for a few weeks, a month or longer to get rested and strong again. And when they were rested and strong again, they had to go back to the loving husband to make more babies. I can't help it. That's how it was. Yes. Yeah, sorry. And now this house is a group accommodation. You can rent it. You say there are 30 people or more at the same time. Do you see that?